All right. Welcome to a new Level Live with friend of the co, Josh Rager. Josh, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me, Chris. Always good to chat.
For sure. Um, so I think like a general theme, we're going to talk a little bit today about like consumer pricing in the crypto industry and like what people are paying on something like Coinbase and Cash App and how those companies make money. But Josh, you've been involved in Level for 2.5 years, or 2 years, 2.5 years, something like that. So do you want to maybe just like quickly just say how we got to know each other and like how we got involved working on this project together?
Yeah, I mean, it was what, 2.5. That's a long time in the crypto market, right? I mean, like literally, like
Yeah, that's like
a
that's
day
like
feels
eight
like a week.
frauds.
That's at least. I mean, it's a long time. Yeah. So a couple years ago, you reached out to me, the team at Level, and just wanted to get together and talk to some people who trade in the market. And of course, originally, right, Level, we focused on traders a little bit, and so with that said, a few of us got together, and then we're able to work with you and the other team members just to build a product that people want, right? That traders want, that consumers want, that retail wants, that's focused actually in favor of retail. And I think that that was really what spoke to me is that, it seemed like finally there's a product that I'll be able to use and benefit from that's not going to exploit me, right? Like again, we say Coinbase so often, but it's the biggest platform there is when it comes to the biggest company probably in crypto, right? For the most part. So but after talking about that, right, I jumped on board and I wanted to be a part of this and to help build something and that actually benefits the normal everyday user who loves Bitcoin. So that's basically how I see it.
Do you say like the main thing that motivated you is like unstoppable rage towards Coinbase?
That's right. Well, just again, just the ability to create value. And I think that we've talked about that a lot is that one of the biggest things that any company can do is create value for people. And so
Right.
I said that I was like, look, there's a lot of people who reach out to me all the time to say, can you quote promote my product? And you just weren't asking for a promotion. You wanted to work with people. You wanted to work with people who've been in this industry. And I get so many of those like every week, like DMs, like 50 DMs a week, from companies. And it's true. And it's not just me, it's a lot of other people who get these as well. And most of these products and services and exchanges, right? They're not good. I mean, they don't have a good product. They don't bring value. And so I thought that what you guys were bringing was value, to be able to give the ability for people to buy, trade, sell Bitcoin with no fees that most people, right, don't even see the fee because it comes out of their Bitcoin. So that you could literally sell a Bitcoin and be spending $200 in fees and not even know it.
Mhm.
And then do that several times and spend $1,000 in a week, or in
Yeah,
a
like
month. And so
compounds.
yeah. So just the value of it was the big deal. And seeing that you guys were creating value. And yeah, I think that it helps that you see these companies take advantage for so long. You just like pray for a company to come along and just wipe these guys out, So
So you said I've actually been really excited to have you on because you are such an avid trader, and I'm curious what platforms you were trading on, and you said that they don't really provide a great value. So why do you think so many people use these crypto platforms? Like what's making them excited if they have to pay so many fees, or do they understand the fees?
well, hey, I don't think people understand the fees, right? I mean, they just don't because a lot of times, again, when you look at Bitcoin, you're looking at decimal, decimal 0.000 satoshis, right? And
Right,
people don't
right.
always equate that with dollars, or whether they're trading Ethereum or anything else, all crypto. But once you put a dollar sign in front of that, and people actually see, which most people use USD, and of course levels for United States at this moment, those people are going to notice kind of what they're spending. And I didn't even notice that at first when I first got into crypto as much. I mean, I was just kind of like lax with it because, whatever. But then after a month or so, you start to notice how many dollars you're like, man, my account's kind of going down more than I thought it was because I'm trading so
Hmm.
much, right? So I think people are not necessarily drawn to quote even Coinbase. They have to use it because they're required to, because they don't have anything else to use. And that's the
Right.
problem, is that you've got Coinbase, United States now cracking with Gemini. Okay, I mean, Gemini is what I had to first. So I'm in Minnesota. So I had to use Gemini over Coinbase Pro, which was GDAX, right? When that was out, because Minnesota was limited to what they could use. So I literally had to use Gemini, which had even more fees, higher
Yeah,
fees
yeah, yeah.
than Coinbase. But why did I use Gemini? Because I had to. That's the only thing that I could use for a fiat
Right.
on ramp. So I think that a lot of people use these. They started using them because that's what they had to use. And it's kind of like a lot of things, they just kind of stick with it until they really know, hey, there's better things out there.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I think like I think one of the things that's like kind of a downer of the way that these. So I mean, places like Coinbase and Gemini have exactly the same retail fee structure now, like all the way down to the penny. Like they charge exactly the same price, and I think it's kind of unfortunate that like the fees are like so tilted against like consumers specifically, because cryptocurrency is like this group effort in the sense that like if we want to have a viable alternative to gold or some other store of value that's like digital, that's cheap to transmit, like you need to have a broad base of people using it so that you have liquidity, right? Like at all points in time, so that people can on ramp and off ramp. And what's a shame about uh, the Coinbase or Gemini fee structure, um, is that the fee structure is sort of regressive. Like if you're trading really high volume, like $5,000 on Coinbase Pro, your fee rate might be 0.25% or 0.5% if you're doing a market order. But if you're just buying $10 of crypto on Coinbase Consumer, between the spread that's baked in and the transaction fee and then the Coinbase minimum fee, which is like if you haven't paid enough, let's round up to the nearest dollar or whatever.
right,
The effective rate that you end up paying is like 10%. And I think platforms like that do provide value because, it's good to hold like Bitcoin if that's the only way you can get it. But it's a shame that sort of the highest volume of the smallest transaction sizes, which are really kind of like your mainstream consumers, that Bitcoin was like built just to sort of solve all these problems in finance for. They're paying the highest rates of fees, and that to me is just like Wall Street all over again, like bundled up and put in this like crypto
right,
package. It just, it's just a bummer that like if you have less money, your fees are higher. That is really not a fan of that.
right. Yeah, it is, and most people don't know, right? They just don't know, and unless people tell them, and I just don't understand that, Now naturally, I think that you see on a lot of derivatives platforms, they will give people who limit sell, they'll give them a rebate. I mean, they'll give them money back because you're providing liquidity,
Right.
but that's one thing. But I think overall, it's like still, it's like it's just you shouldn't be able to. But that's for everybody, right? That's for the big guy and the little guy. But for just trading fees in general for Coinbase or Gemini, they just kind of screw over the normal person. Which
Oh
again,
yeah.
it's hard to be a fan of that. So you
Yeah, I mean,
know,
I'm definitely like it's good that people can buy Bitcoin. Like I don't want to like beat a dead horse, but
yeah,
that's definitely a problem. And I think it becomes more of a problem as the ecosystem moves towards payments. So in Bitcoin, obviously, is this fantastic store of value, and 2020 I think was a huge test case with the dollar weakening and the sort of like macro liquidity crunch we were having to see Bitcoin perform so well. I think really was a watershed moment in crypto, like at least for me personally. Um, but I think it's also exciting to sort of imagine a future where transaction costs are falling, and that you can also use this as a payment mechanism. Certainly, it's good to invest in Bitcoin and like liquidate it, like when you have to meet sort of current requirements with your money. Um, But with things like Lightning Network, we want to move towards a place where you actually could transact with cryptocurrency and sort of use it as your daily driver, like walk into a gas station, pay for your gas with Bitcoin. And it's hard to imagine, if you're buying like if you're buying $20 of gas, it's hard to imagine paying $2.99 of a
Yeah,
Coinbase fee as part of that, right? Like it just doesn't seem very compatible with the future of payments.
right. Yeah, I mean, like if you want to use it every day, it's not realistic. I mean, it's just again, if you're paying for gas and for groceries and this, and you're already taxed by the state, man. Like, why do you want another tax?
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
like another tax, man. It's all it is. It's another percentage of that. So, and then Lightning Network. I mean, a lot of people still Bitcoin's too slow. I mean, you use certain apps and different sites. I mean, they've got it connected with Lightning, and it's quick, man. Like it is quick, and so I've seen it work. How fast and efficient Bitcoin can be with Lightning, and it's attractive. And and I feel like why can't this be used every day in the future? And I think that it will be, more.
yeah,
But yeah, man, those fees. So
yeah. Hate them. So like, I think it'd be fun to go back and talk about like layer two a little bit more. I think that's like a really exciting trend. But um, obviously you're paying fees and nobody wants to pay anything at all. But like, talk a little bit about as an active trader. Talk a little bit about what types of fees accumulate on these types of platforms, like as you're liquidating, um, like a trader size position, $1,000,
right.
$10,000.
Yeah. Well, as I told you, I liquidated some Bitcoin and some Ethereum recently. I use Level because I can use it in my state and see. And even yesterday, I sold over 50 Ethereum on Level, and I think that even more than that. But the total cost saved was like over $400. It even said that compared to Coinbase, you're saving. And that's the cool thing too, is that it'll actually tell you how much you're saving compared to something like a Coinbase if you were to liquidate on that. So I mean, that's you're looking at $400 right now. $400 is a lot of money. I mean, that's a lot. People
That's a
don't think about
PS4.
that. That's yeah. I mean, like, and I sold several Bitcoin too between 11,500 and 12,000. That's because I've been doing the altcoin farming and the degenerate trading lately because the alts and everything, and I'll take that and I do it because I want to stack more Bitcoin, right? And I've said that all along. Um, yeah, that's why I trade altcoins, to stack more Bitcoin. And so you got to pay yourself out. There's no reason why you shouldn't. And so I sold several Bitcoin, and again, that's several $100. I've saved over $1,000 on Level this month,
Yeah,
right? So when you look at trading, and when you're an active trader and you start to buy or sell Bitcoin over a period of time, and maybe I want to buy on this dip right here under 11K. If it's, I haven't even looked, is it still under 11K? It could be, it could go down more, but that's going to be a buying opportunity where if
yeah,
somebody wants to throw in 50K and buy 5 Bitcoin, you're literally going to be saving, 500 to $1,000, depending,
yeah,
more than that maybe. So the fees that I see, yeah, man, they're substantial. And on top of that, like I got to pay capital gains taxes on this stuff.
right.
And so I'm already getting taxed, 20% or whatever from the government, plus 7.5% from Minnesota. Man, that sucks. like why do I want to go and pay another 4 or whatever percent,
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4%. So, I'm seeing literally somebody like myself will save hundreds to thousands of dollars a month using something like Level to liquidate, to buy and sell. So those are the things. And again, people keep talking about Binance, and now they've got Binance US. The thing with Binance is you also pay on limit sales and buys.
Right, right,
And
right,
so typically you get a rebate on a lot of places, and you're actually still, even though you're providing liquidity on Binance, they're still charging you, which is
right.
just, I think it's crazy. So,
Yeah. I think it's interesting. Like, it's interesting you mentioned that we're like, I guess we're in altcoin season, right? Like, Well, we're in altcoin season, and we're really we're in the sort of a peak of a DeFi bubble. And but even if you're trading in alts, it's like occasionally you're going to want to get liquidity, right? Uh, and you can liquidate into Bitcoin, and like you can spend Bitcoin at a lot of places. Like the infrastructure is like good, it's not great yet, but you're going to want cash too. Um, so I think I think it's important to remember that like if you're trading in the altcoin ecosystem, that like you still need to have an on ramp, off ramp of choice, you know. And I hope that a lot of people like um consider level for that, because I mean for multiple reasons, but like the biggest one's like that you're not paying anything.
Right.
um,
Yeah.
can we talk a little bit about uh DeFi and what's going on in altcoins right now? Um,
Yeah.
so level, we support Bitcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, and Ethereum, and a big part of that is that we operate in a regulated sphere, and we can move cash with very high limits. Like um, you can do more cash transactions on level than Coinbase by like a factor of 4. So we're very highly regulated, and we're trying to stay mostly in assets that are sort of like reserve assets of cryptocurrency. Like if you're trading altcoins, you could be using Bitcoin or an ERC20 as like a base, like DAI. And these seem like ones that it's pretty comfortable to on ramp and off ramp through. And just because of we have such tight regulations, we don't play in the sort of broader altcoin space. Um, but I, as a like consumer, I'm curious what is going on in the altcoin ecosystem right now, especially DeFi, because um, it looks pretty scammy. I guess is like my like short term
Oh
is like my
man.
like
I,
initial take. Yeah.
yeah. No, I got a story, man. Like, okay, so I got so have you heard the term rug pull yet? You
No.
get a rug pull. Okay.
I
Well, it's
mean,
like a
I
rug
know,
pull.
like if you get like rug pull out from under you
You
or
got
whatever.
it's a scam. So basically what's going on, right? So decentralized finance, what's really popular is a lot of the yield farming. I've been doing it quite a bit. And so basically what you're doing is you're staking, you're providing liquidity. To typically they use Uniswap. Uniswap is a decentralized exchange, basically where you're swapping out, right? You want to talk about fees? Gas fees have been absurd, right? I mean, I'm literally paying $40 to $50 for a trade. Okay, I
Right.
don't. It can be a $10 trade or a $10,000 trade, and you're paying $50, right? And
Right.
so
Right.
a lot of times too with these gas fees, it's not even worth it for me. I want to buy, man, I would just like to buy $500 worth of this token, and I'm like, man, $60? No, I think
Right.
I'll wait, or I'll buy more, or I'll wait, right?
Well, at a
So
minimum, it has to stop down how active you can be as a trader, because you just get a lot more
yeah,
fees.
totally. And it slows you down unless you've got the capital to keep going, right? Unless you're being actively profitable in this stuff, you can't afford to trade a lot. It's kind of like a Wells game, people kind of say. But point being, right? Decentralized finance, I don't even understand some of it, but but the but the big thing now is yield farming, and we're kind of in a yield farming bubble to where every day you're seeing a new website that comes out that says if you stake tokens to our website, provide liquidity, we're going to reward you with our token. And it's like mining, all right? You earn tokens as you stake. And so it's huge right now. So I mean, I'll tell you right now, some of the dumbest stuff has come out, and literally it's like it's a bubble to the fact that you get in and you got to get out. So there's the meme called why the big guys like why do this. There's a why
Oh yeah, yeah,
finance, you know why finance came out like 3 days ago. Okay, I bought in, I tried to get in fast, I try to stake coins, and you have to try to sell those off when you stake them. But I made like $16,000 off this scam. Now the price went from $5 to like 50 cents or something. I don't know. It's done, right? And then 2 days ago, there was kimchi. Kimchi, kind of like sushi, which has been big, right? Sushi is a fork of Uniswap. They're going to try to go and take all their liquidity, but they want to pay fees to sushi holders. So it's basically like a DEX. So sushi is a DEX. If anybody who's like confused by all those food terms, sushi is going to be a DEX that's a fork of Uniswap that basically they're going to pay fees to the people who hold sushi. But point being is that that's been kind of big. It's like a top 100, top 50 asset now. But a fork off of sushi was kimchi, right? The Korean food, or I don't know. But kimchi was so big that even Arthur Hayes got into kimchi, and he did this stuff. And I got in and I made a decent amount of money in that too. But yesterday, I got ripped off by pizza token. Okay. Literally no value in this, but they rug pulled me. I lost like $5,000 to $6,000 staking this. They drained the liquidity from the pool and they stole it. And then they like dumped the price. So it's going to happen. And a lot of this stuff is scams, and people have to realize this. But the cool thing is, though, Chris, is that if you use MetaMask or anything else to trade with this, all you have to do is send your gains to Ethereum, send it to Level. And that's why I liquidated like over 50 Ethereum last night, is I was taking these gains from this, and it gets there within a few minutes, and then you can liquidate. So, unlike, when you think of like Cash App, you can't liquidate Ethereum there. It's just Bitcoin, but
Right,
Level
right.
you can.
Well, you can
So
send crypto there too.
yeah. So I think that it's cool that that's been a pretty easy mechanism for me to profit off my gains, and it's a bank account too, with Level being a bank as well. I can just then don't have to worry. I then just sell my Ethereum and just keep it in my bank account there with Level, and I've got my cash there. So unlike other places where you send, then you trade, then you pay the fees, and then you send to your bank, and it takes several days, right? So if you
Yeah.
want FDIC insured. I kind of went off on a tangent, but I got rug
No,
pulled
you're
by
good.
pizza,
Well, I mean, you sound
so.
like pizza and kimchi and sushi sound like some pretty volatile foods to invest in. Um,
Right.
so, as someone that is pretty in DeFi, would you recommend my mom invest in DeFi tokens?
No, no, I mean, it's way too risky, Um, and unless you know what you're doing, and unless you get in early, you're not going to benefit, because it moves so fast. And I think that there are some legit products that people are trying to build out there. Sushi could be okay. I don't know yet. I mean, it is what it is. But other than that, 98, let's just say 98% of these DeFi tokens are scams, and they're going to go
Yeah,
to zero. Not in 2 years, but in like 2 days or 2 weeks. Like
right.
it's that risky.
So that sounds horrific. I will I will say there's some interesting ideas in DeFi. So like I was looking at the Uniswap like protocol, and the way that they provision liquidity or like set prices, create price action, whatever you want to call it, I thought was actually like really interesting. Like uh they have this like constant product formula that ensures that you have to pay like a high premium if you're trying to buy out their um,
Mhm.
liquidity. Um, I didn't like. I'm gonna get a bunch of DMs about this, but like I didn't find that like it was like referencing a lot of like peer reviewed research in economics or anything like that. But like there's some interesting ideas, and like level we're obviously experimenting with liquidity too, and so like I definitely want to be like fair about that. Like some of these things, the thing that's admirable about DeFi is it's trying to shake this legacy system where you have a two-sided marketplace between market makers and liquidity providers and regular consumers. Oftentimes, liquidity providers, and this is like especially true in stocks, it's still true in crypto. They have a lot of privileged access. Like they've got access to L1 order books. They They set the price of the order flow as long as they're following this industry rule called OMBM. So if you're on Robinhood and you're getting matched to one of their 2 or 3 market makers, um, they basically can set the margin that they want to take from you because they are, but from a regulatory perspective, the only people allowed to provide liquidity. And the it may not be best for Robinhood to match you with the cheapest, the most price efficient market maker because they pay rebates to Robinhood. And it's kind of a similar thing on Coinbase because you have people on Coinbase Pro that are paying very, very low fees. It's like you said, you were expecting to pay lower fees when you're creating liquidity. And then for the regular consumers, those are the guys that are paying 10% when they go on to Coinbase Consumer. And so what's interesting about DeFi is you're challenging this sort of liquidity monopoly that whether it's created from regulations or just from network effects, it's sort of challenging that model and saying, like, is there a way that all of us as a broader community could create these liquidity pools and service people's like liquidity requirements without having to go sort of like sign a deal with the devil and work with like Chicago
Right.
market making firms. And so like it's hard to completely knock DeFi because I think that is an admirable um, I think that is an admirable thing to shoot for. And I mean, Level, we do the same thing. We have Autopilot, which is well, it's not built on smart contracts and therefore it doesn't have gas fees. Like we do have a way for users to add liquidity to a pool and earn income against that. So I think some credit where it's due in those regards. Um, for anyone to get in early and make money, I guess the later comers may lose money, and like that's the Ponzi-esque aspect, of these DeFi projects is that there's uh the time of entry kind of is pretty material on the outcome you have, which is very
Hmm.
characteristic of like a Ponzi scheme, in my opinion. Um, so that's a bummer, but more innovation, less fraud. That would be a fun direction for DeFi, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of money, right, in it right now. I mean, I forget the amount that's actually total value locked in is like what, something $1 billion. I mean, there's a lot of money in it. And so
Oh yeah, way
naturally,
more than that. That's like
yeah,
just Uniswap has over $1 billion
it's
locked in now.
billions, billions. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So, I
billions
mean,
now.
when profit and money, it opens the door for scammers. It's a scammer's paradise. Crypto is what I
Yeah,
always
yeah,
tell,
yeah.
because because some of it's still not regulated. And, with the Uniswap stuff, there's no KYC and anybody can list a token on Uniswap. Anybody can.
Right.
And you can anything. I mean, dog turd. I mean, not to be the coin. If you token, if you want to do that, you put it on there, and I guarantee there'll be people who try to buy it and trade it.
Right,
It's
right.
absolutely has no intrinsic, has no value. You're not going to go to the gas station and use some cat coin or whatever. We've talked about that before. You're not going to use some of these tokens there, but long term, I mean, Bitcoin, you're going to use it, and with Ethereum, with so much being built on it and used with it, it's got some value. Some people would argue, whatever, but in the end, yeah, I'm all about, like you said, building and technology, and I think that there's value in this stuff, but definitely less scammers. It's tough right now, so you have to be careful for sure.
Yeah, and it seems like you have to be so knowledgeable too. Like if we sort of like we sort of compare it to the 1999 bubble and like there were so many coupons.com or whatever tech companies that didn't end up being good investments, but like somewhere in there there's a Google and
Yeah,
somewhere in there there's an Amazon, right?
right.
But it's pretty confusing. I mean, with a typical scam, maybe they call someone that's like in a vulnerable population, and they trick them into opening like a credit card or whatever. It's at least gonna uh it's tougher as you get older, but it's at least like you've gotten a credit card before. There's some like you're familiar with the process. Like hopefully there'll be some warning signs so you don't get scammed out of it.
Right.
But with DeFi, it's very confusing. Like it's very I studied applied mathematics, and it's very confusing. So like separating sort of the wheat from the chaff, I think it's difficult for for your regular person to do inside of DeFi.
Yeah. Yeah, and too, like so much is hidden behind a computer. Like, I don't know, if somebody tries to rip you off in a lot of these other financial systems and ways traditionally, I mean, they're going to get caught, or at least there's going to be a trail typically. With this stuff, there's
Right.
not. I mean, there could be some guy on some private island in the middle of the Caribbean, right, putting this Ponzi scheme together and is totally anonymous and you don't know who it is. And then they're going to rip you off and they're not going to get caught either, very likely.
Right.
So you have to be really careful. You're right. I mean, there's definitely a learning curve and it's important. So, as I always tell people, go with what's safe, trade Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, trade Bitcoin, not financial advice, do what you want. But, again, it goes back to those names that you have on Level. People are like, well, why don't you list this? Well, when's Level going to list that? And it's just like, well, I mean, how long is that coin going to be around? Is
Yeah.
that, I mean, there's probably nothing bigger than, or a headache that's bigger than having to list a coin and token and take it off months later because it's not doing well,
Well, it's also just like,
So,
I think I think it's not how I think about level two. I mean, so uh level is like hyper regulated. Just because we're new doesn't mean we're subject to fewer regulations or less scrutiny than like something like Coinbase. And in fact we're subject to more because we offer banking services in addition to cryptocurrency services. And so that comes with a whole set of regulations. For example, there's a lot of drama and speculation about Coinbase, selling customer information to government, and it probably didn't help that like Coinbase's response was, uh, "We wouldn't do that." Like of course we might have done that, but like we wouldn't do that. It's like a very, it's very like weird contradictory response, honestly. But
yeah.
um, but we because we offer banking services, we have to disclose to our customers every year, both when you sign up and with your annual privacy notice. Like we have to tell you if we sell data. So I think people don't realize that we're held to like a higher regulatory bar of scrutiny, and that's one thing. I think that Coinbase is doing a lot more volume, and they might list some tokens that expose end users to like participating in securities, and that's a concern for just protecting consumers. Also, I, I think we are really focused on, we're the everyman product, like if you're really sophisticated and you want to trade, the fourth fork of EM finance, there's platforms for that. Like genuinely, there's
Right.
platforms for that. Those platforms, I'll tell you, they're never gonna let you move $50,000 in cash a day.
Right.
That's like never ever gonna happen, right? But
Yeah.
my attitude towards our customers is your money, do what you want with it, right? Like if you wanna use us as your on ramp and off ramp, and you want to go trade on Binance for Meow Coin, that you're welcome to do. And like you, I know a lot of people that are successful in doing sentiment driven trading. I don't think that's what Level's for. Level is for on ramping inside of crypto. Levels for on ramping and off ramping mainstay cryptocurrencies, and then creating liquidity in these markets. DeFi might be taking off and has some good speculator opportunities, but the highest volumes by far are going to be in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and
Oh,
that's
yeah.
by a factor of like 100.
Yeah. It's not even close. The market cap of those two is far and beyond. Right. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
they're like big boy
um,
currencies.
yeah, I mean, a lot of these, which was it? One exchange out, I don't know where it was at. Maybe it was in Asia or Hong Kong or such, whatever, one of these islands. I mean, they were literally running a fractional reserve where they had more tokens than what they should
Yeah,
have, right, on there. So, I mean, what happens if something goes and somebody tries to sell or buy or whatever? So, yeah, you have to be careful. And again, with that, you're honest about liquidity and you're honest about everything with Level. I mean, you're not running a fractional reserve. I mean, and you're held to that standard. And so, unlike a lot of these places that, again, it's hot right now, but will DeFi be hot in another year or two? And will some of these exchanges still be around?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, without faking their volume. Um, And you're right. A lot of these don't want to let you move big amounts of money. And a lot of times they've put holds on people trying to move out big money, which is
Right.
super sketchy and scary, you know?
Oh, that's like
So
that's
I'm
that's
not going to
super
put a,
concerning, right? Like,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
no, I don't think you don't want to have exposure because you don't know how your exchange is using money. And I mean, there's a
yeah,
like some of these so I mean, there's a like there's no way to sort of do a non-custodial like fiat services today, like at least in the United States. Um, and so, compared to these like total dexes, like these exchanges you're going to have some degree of trust in a centralized exchange for moving from fiat into cash and back out, or you're going to have to use like a payment service where you're 4 or 5%, which I would not recommend. I would not recommend using a payment service to
no,
onboard, but um, but there is a degree of trust involved. I mean, like we have one of the three keys that is required to move crypto that we hold, and there's another company has another to do a second layer of approval, but you're still trusting us and that other company. And
right.
I guess, like, if you're using an exchange, the big difference is like, I guess anyone can commit fraud. We'll never do this for obvious reasons, but like we could go fractional. Just like somebody does it could do it in Bali, But the
Hmm.
difference is like I live in downtown LA, and like our business address is like on file with FinCEN. So like if we go fractional, we go to jail. If they go fractional, they're like sipping a mojito,
On the
like
beat.
yeah, somewhere on the beach. So like there definitely is there's certainly like a difference in alignment structures, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously, I mean, who
Accountability for sure.
imagine someone's going to introduce, like, imagine Apple launches with this great new consumer electronics, but their corporate structure is like 7 nested businesses in the Bahamas. Like, you'd be like, what exactly is going
Yeah.
on here? Like, what are you putting in these products, right?
You'd question it for sure. Yeah. And that's the thing is like, definitely with America, it's good. It's a, people get mad, retail investors get mad about, oh, I only have these 5 options. Well, it's probably, it's not always a bad thing because it's saving a lot of people who don't know what they're doing. It's saving them money, you know, and
Yeah,
so,
or giving them
which is good.
access for the first time.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, man, it's good. I think overall with that. And did we want to talk about any of these questions that we have on here,
Oh, I
or
mean,
not really?
I think it would be great. I mean, we're coming close to like end of time. We normally do these for like 45 minutes, but
Yeah.
a lot of those questions were submitted by customers. So if you want to go through some of them, I'd love to be able to answer them while we're here.
Yeah. So trading and fees. I think some of this, why can't I sell all my Bitcoin with the max button? So again, I think that's somebody like myself. We talked about that before. Like if I want to sell, I don't know, 5, 10 Bitcoin and just hit sell, maybe you can get into that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think like part of it, we're a new platform and liquidity is ramping up. So I mean, unfortunately, there's going to be times like where people want to place orders that are so big that we can't fully service it, and in that case, you're going to see a max that you're able to service. What I would say is like liquidity is like rapidly growing. I mean, last week we had around 10% of Coinbase's liquidity, and as defined as the amount of buys and order or buy and sell limit orders that are within 2% of the spot price or the prevailing price.
Yeah.
So we're getting there. If you want to sell 100 Bitcoin, we don't have we won't let anything execute outside of the 2% band. So like you can obviously sell 100 Bitcoin on Coinbase, but you're going to pay like a 12% slippage.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
I'm like not
Insane.
sure that's even a good idea. I guess like obviously liquidity is a high priority. Yesterday, for the first time in 5 weeks, we briefly ran out of liquidity for about like 45 minutes. So like we have these sort of like key metrics we're looking at. Like we don't want to run out. We want to make sure that we can service a very high percentile of order sizes. So like 95% of our orders are less than $8,000, we want to make sure that we can support those with like total assuredness.
Right. That's
Liquidity,
good.
liquidity will ramp up though, and we also, and this is in the early stages, but we do want to make sure that we can service those people that have like freakishly big orders too, and we're talking about putting in a reserve liquidity provider, so then you'd have sort of two lines of defense.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think like people get very upset when we run out of liquidity, and I'm very, very sorry about that. But I would also ask people to first of all remember that it's like once every 5 weeks or so, so it's really like it's very rare that you're going to get affected by this. And then also just like the importance of the cause, like basically we're going to have to put up with very occasional, once a month or so, like we might not have the liquidity that our customers are looking for. But in the long term, we're going to have more liquidity than Coinbase, and now none of us are held hostage. So I just ask that people be patient during the ramp up period, because there's a clear trend that it's increasing, and the benefit at the end of the tunnel is that we aren't getting fucking fleeced by Coinbase anymore.
Right. Yeah, and I think that you even answered a question: what do you do to keep Bitcoin in stock? I think you just answered that, just looking at ways to provide liquidity and constantly learning and growing what your members need. Because again, if most people need just less than $8,000 per seller, I mean, again, why are you going to let just one guy go on there and just take it all? It doesn't make sense, because that actually provides that maximum button. I think provides a better service to all your members altogether. So,
well, we want to add
I think
dollar cost averaging too, because a big part of this, a big part of the ecosystem is you want the liquidity providers to earn income, like actually. And we've got in DeFi with liquidity farming, it's kind of like put your money in, like hopefully it's yielding. You have to be pretty good at understanding contracts, like to sort of really understand the marketplace dynamics. And then like in the meantime, like a 22-year-old releases an unpeer-reviewed white paper or whatever. The nice thing with our autopilot, our liquidity is that, like, first of all, like the performance was quite good last month. It was a 10% return. Last month, it was a 12% money weighted average. So, you're already talking about 10 times better performance than what's like marketed by DeFi. And it's also just not voodoo, like it's the same like market making principles that are like have been proven in fact on Coinbase and Bittrex and Kraken for ages. We're just letting anybody run them. And so, I think that really the essential elements for this to be successful long term are there. Liquidity providers are making money, and like without any hand waving and without and nothing's hidden behind the scenes, and liquidity is increasing. And I think that over time we'll see that model is more efficient than the incumbent model that Coinbase runs.
Yeah. I just remember you even saying like it was like 2% or something like that not too long ago, and you're already saying it's over 10% or close to that, right?
I mean, it can fluctuate.
So it's already 5x. Right.
Yeah.
That's
great.
I mean,
I think first, I think people need to realize just how much fucking liquidity we're gonna need, because Coinbase is like Coinbase is like every once in a while you might want to onboard or on ramp or off ramp as a part of an investment activity, right? So first of all, Level lets you on ramp and off ramp for free, which presumably in the long term is going to produce higher volumes, right? Because there's less friction to do so. But the other thing we're doing that's really crazy is we're going to introduce a debit card that lets you spend Bitcoin. And so, imagine every Coinbase customer was paying for their dinner in Bitcoin, and now you have all that order flow. There's $15,000 of Cobb salads being bought in the LA area, and all of that has to be all that like Bitcoin has to be sold to put cash into the account to be sold on the debit card. We have a vision for sort of on ramp off ramp for free, but also payments for free. Debit card to crypto and crypto to debit card. And I think that hasn't been done. And I like it's hard to even really quantify. It's hard to really fathom how high the volumes would be then, right? Like these are not your investment assets that you occasionally buy and sell. This is your daily driver. It's the money that you're getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, and then your goal is to like spend it and having that as having that hitting the liquidity, I think like it's a good thing we're going to do more than Coinbase, because we're going to have a lot more volume than Coinbase when we introduce
Right.
the card.
Yeah. No, that's great. It's good to know, and you're innovating because, eventually we'll get to Bitcoin is really volatile right now, and I'll kind of end with this is that eventually it's not going to always. I don't think it's always going to be as volatile. I mean, as more and more people get in, there's going to be less volatility, right? It's going to be liquid, um, and even with 21 million or less than that are going to be available. You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. So a lot of people are going to be using fractions of a Bitcoin, Satoshis of a Bitcoin to buy and sell. And hopefully, yeah, one day it hits that 50, 100,000, I don't know, $1 million. I'm not going to speculate. We've all heard it all, but hopefully it hits those numbers. And at that time, it'll stop being so volatile and people will want to use their Bitcoin on their debit card, and Level will have one. So, which is
Yeah,
nice.
I guess the vol you'll know that sort of Bitcoin has won or accomplished what it set out to do when the volatility left in Bitcoin is basically the inverse of the volatility left in the dollar, right? Because like when gold is volatile, you never read in the press like the price of gold is all over the place. What you read is like a lot of people are concerned in buying gold, or international currencies in particular are weakening compared to gold due to monetary and fiscal policy. Um, and Bitcoin should be in that group, right? Like the volatility that's left in Bitcoin is one day when there's enough adoption of it will just be it'll just be basically the fluctuation we're seeing in dollars as dollars weaken. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually think one day you're going to turn on CNBC and instead of saying what's the price of Bitcoin in dollars, I think people are going to say what are dollars still worth in Bitcoin. Um,
That'd be
I
cool.
think I think that's coming, but yeah, maybe that's a little bit of wishful thinking. So I want to, in the spirit of crypto and the DeFi that we were talking about, I was hoping to wrap up by just shamelessly shilling Level, and telling everyone that look, if you on ramp or off ramp and you're paying fees on Coinbase, and you trade more than $200 a month on ramping and off ramp, so it's not a very high bar, you will save money on Level. And I think more than that, it's also a vote on this new way of providing these services, where it's not just the exchange that's winning. It's not just Coinbase that is consistently closing every year with $1.6 billion of net income, but we can take a lot of that value in buying and selling and providing liquidity to do so, and give it back to the community. And so I just want to close by saying please sign up for Level. It's a great product that a lot of people are excited about, and the stronger our community gets, the sooner that we will kick Coinbase's ass.
Yeah. And then you guys are literally paying people to sign up. I mean, basically, if you haven't signed up for Level in the United States and you share it with 5 friends and they use it, you're literally getting paid by Level to use their product to have no fees and free banking. I don't know. I think it's a win-win. So
Yeah.
it's good, man. All
Great. Well,
right.
Josh, I wanted to say thanks a lot for having you on. You and I don't get to talk enough, and that was a blast.
It's fun, man. It's fun. Oh, I love it. Yeah, I'm excited too about the debit card and everything's to come. And so, yeah, man, we'll just keep working towards the goal of being the top and providing good value for people. So it's always good to chat, man.
Cool. We'll just try to save people money and not be assholes, and hopefully that'll
that's, hey, man,
hopefully
that's
that'll
like the
work out.
gold foundation of life. Don't be an a-hole, right? And then you'll be,
Yeah.
so.
All right, Josh. Well, thank you so much for your
All right,
time. It's
thanks,
always
Chris.
good to catch up. Thanks for everything you've done for Level too.
Thanks, man. All right.
All right. Bye, my
Thanks,
dude.
buddy. Bye.